And in some scenario, the blind handover has to be performed, especially for inter-frequency handover. So we are going to have a look on the scenario where blind handover has to be performed. So in general, the inter-frequency handover, it could be done in two methods, where number one, that is measurement-based handover, which usually it starts from a measurement report of event A2 sent by the user, which indicates that the serving cell frequency has been worse. So the user has to enter measurement gap in order to perform measurement on inter-frequency neighbor cells. Then the user will be measuring the inter-frequency neighbor and sending the reports in the format of A4, followed by the handover command, which is decided and sent by the eNobi. But in some occasion, then there is no need of the measurement of the inter-frequency neighbor, and that is called blind handover. So this is only, it could be done by turning on the relevant blind handover switch. So that's number one. In order to turn on, to enable that, the blind handover switch has to be turned on. And second, blind handover will be executed only if the triggering threshold has been met. So there are two event A2 threshold which are defined in the system. Number one, that is the measurement-based threshold. So to recap, event A2 indicates that the serving frequency quality is worse than a specific threshold. So there are two thresholds which has to be set. Number one, that is A2 measure threshold. When the serving signal quality is worse than A2 measure threshold, the user send event A2 report and the user will be receiving measurement gap to perform the inter-frequency measurement. But there is one more threshold which has to be set, which is called A2 blind threshold, which is usually a lower value compared to the measurement threshold. So once the A2 blind threshold is met, means the user is actually moving further away from the serving cell. When this is met, a blind redirection will be triggered, where in this case, the user will be performing blind redirection by skipping the measurement of the inter-frequency neighbor. That is required because the serving cell quality has dropped worse and worse, which is even lower than the A2 measure threshold. So this is for emergency purpose. So we are trying to remedy the cause by performing blind redirection. So this is a switch which has to be turned on, which is called emergency inter-frequency blind handover. And the eNobi proceed by selecting the cells which are suitable for the blind handover, where it starts from, is there any neighboring cell with blind handover priority being defined? If yes, this is then the neighbor cell with the blind handover priority defined will be selected for blind handover. If there is no neighboring cell configured with blind handover priority, then the eNobi select the frequency with highest frequency priority. Then a redirection will be performed, where the redirection information only carry frequency information. So these are the parameters for blind handover event A2 threshold. And this is about the neighboring cell with blind handover priority defined. If there is no neighbor with blind handover priority defined, then the eNobi select the frequency with a higher priority, frequency priority for connected mode.